So welcome everybody today to our Center for Teaching and Learning workshop on leveraging student feedback on midpoint surveys. Very important, very timely at this time of the year. So I'm Barbara Kumbush. I'm an ed consultant for curriculum and faculty development.
And I'm Janine Hertz, Assistant Director in the Center for Teaching and Learning. It's such a pleasure to meet both of you here today.
And I'd like to acknowledge that we're located on the unceded territory of the Okanagan peoples, and I have this image up of the artwork or story poles that we have outside the administration building, and we call these lovingly story poles, but I found out recently that the artist named them, Les Lewis named them home, which I cannot pronounce yet in Silkshan. I'm trying to find out how to read that, but I think this is important to think to recognize that while we have this artwork that represents home, that we want this campus and our classrooms to be kind of a home of learning, right? If you can think about it that way. And so what better time than at midpoint to reflect on that with our students and to find out, are we creating these spaces of learning where they feel at home and that they can be successful. So today we're going to talk about midpoint feedback as a type of formative assessment. There isn't just one way to do this. So we're going to talk about the different ways that you can do it. We're going to provide resources if you're like, I don't have time to create my own instrument or whatever it may be. We'll give you the template. We'll tell you this is what you need to do. Especially if this is the first time that you're doing it, maybe that's the way you want to go. And then we'll spend some time talking about how is it that you kind of get buy-in or approach students about giving some formative feedback about the course and what the benefits are, and then what do you do, right? When you gather, you have the feedback, but then what do you do with it? So those are things that we're going to focus on today. So your goals, like to hear from you, and you can unmute. We're not a big group. So what are your goals for this session? What is at top of mind at midpoint for you?
For me, it's first finding that are important that I want to ask the students, and more important than that, because I saw the PDF that you have shared with us, and there were already some questions over there, but I'm wondering about what kind of platforms we can use so that we do this quick survey online in the class, and it'd be easy for everyone to just do that. I see some softwares like iClicker, but I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe students must have an account for that, and so it might like reduce the participation. And I was wondering what other platforms are available for us.
Great question. And if you just want to have a template, we have one ready for you through Qualtrics, which everybody at UBC has a Qualtrics account. You may need to activate it. So we have instructions how to do that. We could share this template with you. You can use it as is, or you can modify it, add or delete some of the questions that are not relevant to you. And it's an anonymous link. So you could share that on an email, or you could say, here it is, I'm sending you the link, or here's a short bit.ly, and we're going to do it in class. So I get everybody's feedback, but it is anonymous. So we will have that. We will share those steps for how to get access to that. Yep.
And just quickly regarding using something like iClicker, if it's not something you're using already in your classes, I wouldn't recommend that for doing this, because just a bit of a learning curve, and the students do require an account. I mean, there's no cost. It's UBC centrally funded, but yeah, it's an extra layer if they're not used to using it.
And a lot of those tools are even in Canvas, even things that seem to be anonymous, there's a way around it that you can find out what student, if some student was complaining, you could find out who it is. So students may know that and not feel that they could really express what's on their mind if they don't feel it's anonymous. So that's a consideration sometimes also in these tools. Yeah, so Fawad, what's on your mind in terms of what you'd like to hear from students?
Yeah, I mean, I am also teaching one course this semester, and this is my first time that I'm teaching at UBC. So, what I'm observing is in my class a lack of direct feedback, and sometimes I'm not clear whether I remain successful in conveying the concept through my lectures or not. So, I was always interested in midpoint survey, and since I will not have enough time to design it myself, I will be relying on the template which you will provide me. So this was my uh, motivation to have this midpoint survey.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So that gives us a sense of what you're looking for today. That's really helpful. And yeah, we'll be sharing how to access that template. And then also, if you're interested in other formative feedback techniques, you can reach out, because we're at midpoint, but there's no reason that you have to wait till midpoint either. And there could be something that you do that only takes 1 minute, right, at the end of class, if you're sensing that you had a really tough lecture or something and you wanted some feedback on. So just want to put that out there. You don't feel that you have to wait till midpoint. So I'll turn it over to Janine now.
Great. I was going to ask, Safir, have you done midpoint feedback before?
No, I haven't done any kind of this. When I was TAing like last year, I used to maybe every few sessions talk to the students, but with no platform or with no clear objectives, just talking with them.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you. All right. So midpoint or mid-course feedback is, what it sounds like, and it involves collecting feedback from students near the middle part of the course, so around the 6-week mark. And this is an opportunity to give the instructor some time to respond and maybe make some adjustments or acknowledge, maybe making some improvements. And, contrary to popular belief, students are reliable and valid assessors. I think sometimes we don't give them enough credit. They are uniquely positioned to provide some feedback. So we're going to talk about some of the different ways that you can encourage some good constructive feedback. And so we'll get to that, but let's go on to the next slide and we'll talk about the benefits of midpoint feedback to the instructor. So of course, some of the benefits are that it gives you some time to address some of the issues through to the end of the course. So some time to improve some teaching, your effectiveness. It also is an opportunity to build rapport with your students and increase the engagement. So if you're asking them for some feedback, they're feeling valued, and they're going, hopefully to be able to give you some of that feedback. Depending on how you do this as well, it can also help to improve your end of term student evaluations, because I think quite often, some students are discouraged. They don't feel like their evaluations are taken seriously. It happens at the end of the term. Is there really any impact? So by doing this at the midpoint, and depending on how you respond to it, it will be encouraging to them to know that you are someone who solicits the feedback and responds to it. And so they're more likely to give you some good feedback at the end of the term as well. It's just also really an opportunity for you to reflect on your teaching and how it's going in the course, and look for the good things as well, so you can also increase your feelings of competence and confidence. I'm sure there are some things that you're doing well, and so maybe making sure that you're focusing on some of those. Now, there's also benefits to the students. So this helps them to know maybe how they're doing, because you're going to address some of that feedback. It also, you're having some recognition to them that they do have some input, and there is some little bit of flexibility. I mean, likely you have most of your course mapped out already, but there might be room for some little adjustments. And as I said earlier, this is an opportunity for them to really feel connected to you and feel valued because you are respecting them and their feedback and soliciting that so that you can respond and just being really sincere and earnest in your ask for this feedback that you really want it to help them to learn better. It also is good practice for them on giving constructive feedback. And we're going to talk a little bit more about some of that guidance and how you can help. Because as we all know, I think one of the toughest things when you start teaching is to be able to give people really good constructive feedback, right? That's helpful and helps for improvement. It also, if you can set this up properly, it really gives them an opportunity to reflect on their learning. And so they can really think about, what is helping them to learn, what's not helping them to learn, and maybe do a little bit of metacognition about their own learning. So lots of times students don't take time to stop and think about their learning. So this should be a good opportunity for them to do that.
Okay, so let's look at some options. Did mention that we have a template, and that falls in the category on the fourth one, the midpoint survey, right? Is what I was referring to, this anonymous Qualtrics survey that you can adapt. Okay, so maybe this is the best option for you, but we do want you to know that there's other options. So depending on the amount of time that you feel that you can ask students or take away from other activities and relaying content, like, do you have 30 minutes of your class time that you can dedicate to getting feedback? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Also, it depends if you want to be involved in facilitating the generation of that feedback, if it's in person and not a survey. So or is it going to be a peer, somebody in the class who's leading this discussion and getting the feedback? Or is it an educational consultant that's leading it, kind of an external person? So that would be some of my colleagues have called this an SGID or SGID, right? Where it's facilitated by an ed consultant. If it's a peer, they could be using this bare bones questionnaire. It could be that you facilitate a survey kind of as a group work, right? The mid-semester feedback. It's a survey, but it's kind of more group work than the survey. We will talk about the midpoint survey, and it could be that maybe you just have time for 1 minute paper where you say, at the end of class, what's right for 1 minute about what's going well in the class for you, what's contributing to your learning, and then some challenges. And this is a tool that you can use anytime. You don't have to be at midpoint. So keep that in mind. Same thing for the start, stop, continue. You can have them please write down what you would like me to start doing in class that can help your learning. What should I stop doing because it's like preventing you from learning the best way that you can in this class? And what should we continue doing as a class because that's really helping your learning? So those are things that you can use. So a little, not going in depth, but just so you know, you have other options than just this anonymous survey.
And start, stop, continue can be done. We have little index cards that they can write on and return them to you, or you can set up like a quiz in Canvas. And so everybody answers the start, stop, continue, and it's really easy to download that data and have a look at it all together.
Right. So you could have low tech or high tech options for some of these. Okay. All right. So kind of given what the overview, and also maybe given some of the questions on the PDF that you received, the mid-course feedback goals worksheet, what are you thinking? Which option? Are you going to definitely go to the anonymous survey, even though we haven't shown it to you yet? Or are you thinking, oh, I can contribute 30 minutes because there's something that we really need to dig into? Or you think, oh, maybe I'll just spend a minute doing a minute paper with the class. What are you leaning toward at this point?
For me, I think a very short, like maybe less than 5 minutes, Qualtrics, and obviously anonymous would be the best option. I just want to give them like some options to choose so that they don't feel like they have to do much work and write stuff. Maybe at the end, I will also have a comment box for them as well. But yeah, for now, I think the online, maybe I put the QR code for them, and then anonymous, just a few questions. That is what I have on my mind right now.
Okay, and from the worksheet, are there categories that are particularly important to you in terms of learning about? Is it about the instruction? Is it about the class climate? Did any of those categories jump out at you as being particularly important?
Yeah, instruction definitely, because as I said, this is my first course, and I really want to improve my like skills. And then about the learning outcomes, I feel like that might be a little too soon, but I might be wrong. And then about the course activities, because it's a very like a large class, is about 200 students. You don't get to do much activities in the class rather than just going over the lectures. So I wasn't sure if I'm gonna use those or not. But definitely what stood up when I looked at the PDF was about the instruction.
Okay, great, thank you. Fawad, what are you thinking, which direction you'd like to go with which option, and any areas on the goals worksheet that you're interested in the most?
Yeah, almost similar as Sapahar. I would like to have a Qualtrics survey with few questions and also a comment section at the end. I would like to keep the questions similar to what they will be having in the end semester survey, and I will be focusing on the instruction just like Sapahar.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think the
Student
experience of instruction, SEIs, seems sometimes a little bit, because they're supposed to serve all students and all courses and all instructors, they almost seem a little bit too broad and too general. So I see your desire to do that, but I think you could still get a lot of useful information and still inform and have a positive impact at the end of term, even if your questions are more specific, more directed to the areas that that you want to get feedback about, that you think students also would like to share their thoughts about. So we'll give you some examples, but definitely it's an adaptable survey, so you can do what you would like. Any other comments? No? Okay, so just some thoughts on, as you're thinking about choosing questions, adapting questions, again, think about your goals. If you want to know about instruction, then have your questions focus on those. If you did a pre-survey at the beginning of the course and asked some questions about getting to know your students and their knowledge and whatever it may be, you can take that survey as well as their answers into account. You haven't offered this before, but maybe already you have a sense of where the challenges are in the course. You can take that into account. You can't change everything or even most things, right, in a course. I mean, you're in the middle of teaching, right? So don't try to ask everything. I think I see that you're already zooming in on what you're most concerned about, most interested in, and that's the way to go. Don't ask a lot of open-ended questions, 3 to 4. It sounds like you have one in mind, which sounds like it would really capture what you would like. And then 15 minutes or less. So, 5 to 15 sounds reasonable. Just some things to consider as you're designing your survey. Yeah, or adding to it. So I think the one that we created is probably around maybe around 10 minutes, right? Okay. So this is what it looks like. If you go to the website, our CTL website, and you could just go to our website and then put in midpoint feedback. It'll jump to this page where there's a PDF where you could see this midpoint survey. It doesn't look like this in Qualtrics. This is a pretty version, but it asks about students about their background, their climate, content. Anyway, these are the different categories. So I'm going to hand it over to Janine to talk more about it.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, it's got a lot, looking into a lot of different categories. So there's quite a few questions there. So you can choose to look at all of them or not all of them. I really like the idea of sort of zooming in on some of the goals that you might have. And, you know, I think if you're aware already, for instance, that there's not maybe a lot of active learning because the class is large, you might not need to ask about that. So you might want to ask about some things that you think might be working, or some things that you are trying, that you want to get some feedback on. So I think it is really important to, you know, to keep the goals. If, you know, there's equity and diversity, inclusion things in there, like, you know, what are the things that you're really making a conscious effort on in your teaching? And those might be, so you can edit this survey. So this survey is created for you already in Qualtrics. And so you can add questions to it, or you can take questions away and take parts away, from my understanding. So it's a survey that is used, it used to be called the Fearless Teaching Survey. It came out of the States, and it's been around for a long time, and we just have kind of adopted it. But again, you're not restricted to these questions, but they'll give you a good idea. And there is, I believe there's an open-ended question at the end. Yeah, that's so tiny. What about the course is most helpful or least helpful for your learning? Do you have any comments, ways to improve this course? So that's a really good open-ended question, because it asks for something that's helpful, something that's least helpful, and suggestions for improvement. So
right, and all the other categories, they're answering the degree to which they agree, right? From strongly agree to strongly disagree.
So that's quick. They're easy to answer that. Okay, so once you've decided on the survey that you're going to do, it's really important that you prepare the students for this. So, you know, let them take a couple minutes in class to say, you know, I have something really important that I'm going to ask you all to do. I am working to improve my teaching because I want to improve the likelihood of your learning about this topic, and maybe, you know, being excited about this topic. And so I'm really looking forward to an opportunity to get some feedback from you. And so just really being very transparent about your intentions and your authentic interest in getting this feedback from the students, because they're the ones who are in the classroom with you. It's not tied to grades at all. And, you know, so you're doing it midway through because you genuinely want to see if you're going, what you might be able to adjust or improve on before the end of class. Typically we'll leave the survey open for maybe a week. And so you can let the students know, you know, this will be open for a week. And I might remind you once or twice to try and remember to complete the survey. And then because once it's done, then I am going to collect all the feedback, and I am going to address parts of it in the class with you. This is our recommendation. You know, you are your own person, and you might choose to do this a different way. A lot of research has gone into some effective ways of dealing with student feedback. And one thing we can guarantee you, if you don't acknowledge the feedback or do something with it, they're not going to be happy that they completed it. So it's really important to let them know that you are going to look at this with them. So explaining the collection process, that it's anonymous, and that, you know, you're going to collect this and what you're going to do with it, and saying that you are looking for opportunities where you can, within reason, make some adjustments if needed. And so once you've prepared the students and they've done the surveys, and then you're going to collect the results. So not that I want to promote any kind of drinking, but it's nice to maybe you might say, I'm going to sit down with a glass of wine or a really good friend or a cup of tea and look at my results, because probably some of them are going to be, or, you know, might not be exactly what you hope for. Then hopefully there's going to be some good things, and there's going to be some things for improvement. And so if you could remember that you've asked for this, and so consider the questions that you asked. Look for those highs and lows. So you're probably going to have students who say amazing things and students who say really unconstructive things that aren't helpful. Hopefully you've told them along the way what constructive feedback looks like. My daughter teaches here and she does midpoint surveys, and she said that she always tells her students, I'm doing this midpoint survey, and if you just tell me that I suck, it's not helpful. If you can say, I suck, this sucked because of this, or would have been better, or would not have sucked as much if you had done it, then that is helpful, and you know, gives her some, you know, it gives her something to work on. So she's not opposed to them saying that she sucks if they need to say that, but just that they can give some critique that's helpful also, so that she can respond to that. So helping them to know what that might look like. So looking for themes. So if many people are saying something, you know, then maybe there's a theme there. I don't worry about the outliers too much. If someone says something ridiculous on either end, try not to, you know, focus on that. Same with any personal things, you know, and it's really important that this is about the teaching. This is not, you know, about an opportunity to be personal about this. You know, if you have a trusted colleague or someone, you know, that's a good mentor for you, or you want to come and visit one of the ed consultants and go through the results with you, that can be really helpful, because sometimes another set of eyes can help, you know, your heart along and make sure that you're going to be okay if there's anything that that you might find distressing. So and then think about selecting some actionable items. You know, this is really good. I think I can make that change. I cannot make this change. Why not? And just, you know, have that settled in your head about how you're going to be able to respond and interpret those results for yourself. Take some good things, take some things that you might be able to change, and some things that you're going to keep doing that are probably effective.
Right, I just want to jump in about the outliers, which can be kind of tricky, because sometimes you do have some student that just likes to gripe maybe about every single class. But just maybe if you spend it a little bit reflecting on, you know, is this a student that maybe is in the minority in terms of their culture or their language skills, or I don't know, just if you have an outlier that catches your attention, just spend, you know, just reflect to see if there's some group of students that may not feel as included, or that you're missing something. But again, don't get hung up on those crazy outlier comments where seems like you can't satisfy a student whether you do this or that, right?
Okay, and easier said than done. I remember getting a bunch of feedback, and every single person in the class said really good things, and I had one person out of like 27 people that said, this was the stupidest thing I ever listened to. I'm never going to use this. And I was so hurt. And you know, so it's just so important to not focus on that one thing. And here I remember this all these years later. So easier said than done. So, and then once you're going to act on the feedback, and you know, you can be saying throughout the week while the students are filling this out, you know, I'm really looking forward to reading all of your feedback. And thank you so much for completing this. It's really going to help inform my teaching. And just, you know, so just being very appreciative and thankful. Thank you so much for taking the time. And then have so as soon as, you know, maybe give yourself a day or two to look at that. And then just, you know, maybe at the end of the next week, let the students know at the start of class, we're going to spend 10 minutes, 50, like make sure it's dedicated time, and it's not going to be the whole class, that you're going to spend just going over the results, going over the findings with them, and that you're going to have a quick class discussion about it. So, so that's a good part of the process. And then I would even write yourself a little bit of a script. And so when we go to the next one, when you having that class discussion about the findings.
Yeah, I wanted to just jump in about the share findings ASAP, which may be a little bit daunting. The Qualtrics has the ability for you to generate graphs. So if you have a large class and you don't want to share out the open-ended responses, because those you're analyzing as themes, and those are what you could talk about. But visually, if you have a large class, you can have it generate some visualizations for you, and that you can share out on Canvas or wherever, and then they could even look at it in advance, and you could bring it up, and then have something that you could discuss. So,
yeah. And then I think this can be the scary part is, having a class discussion about it. So that's why it's really important to have a structure and say how much, the date and how much time you're going to spend on talking about those results. And then just have a process. So I have seen people do this in a really terrible way where they stood up and were just being very defensive about, and actually went on and on for about 40 minutes. And it was very, very uncomfortable for everybody in the class. And it's hard. And so I think, we really talked about it and decided that next time there should be a really good structure about doing this. And so, so we recommend that you can share the results in a graph like Barbara talked about, which is great. Thank you everyone so much for your feedback. And then I like to say that it's good to focus on, here's something that people liked and that they felt was really working. So maybe it's using iClickers or small group interaction or pre-quizzes for the class, or I'm not sure. You're going to find something you should be able to pull out of the theme. They really like the textbook or something. So there's something good that you can say, happily, this is something that works really well for everybody. So we're going to keep doing that. And then on the other side, there may be something that's not working as well. So maybe you're never ending on time, or students might, can you please end the class on time, or can you please review or have examples, or not sure what they're going to suggest that's not working for you to change. So if you can find something that you can adjust and let them know that you are going to adjust it. One of the recommendations was that, I do this thing or end classes on time. And I am going to be able to do that. So I'm going to make an effort. Thank you very much for your feedback. And I am going to do that. And then there might be something that people have asked that you can't change. I'm not sure. Sometimes there's something, a theme evolves and it's something that you cannot make the change. And so being able to say, at this time, this has been identified. This is not something that we can change for this course. Thank you for your feedback. I'm going to take it under advisement for the next class. Really appreciate this. And just letting them know that you can't change something if there's some, because we can't always change everything, but not getting defensive about it. I mean, at most, it might be that you have to cover those learning outcomes, or because of how the class is structured. People can't do they have to do group work. I don't know, like some students like group work, some students don't. So just addressing why something might not be able to be changed. And if there's something that you want to probe a little bit more about, you can ask students to, maybe send you an email or just write something on a 1-minute paper if there's something that you need some clarification on. And just keeping that time in the class very structured. Probably the students won't contribute to the discussion. They might, but they've done this anonymously, and I think they're just hoping that you're going to address the feedback. And then our little so the teacher can model constructive ways of talking about negative feedback. I always like, and we sometimes get negative feedback as well, or we hear negative things. And I really like it when people share that. And my response is always, thank you so much for letting us know, because if we don't know, then we have no way to change it, right? So if someone's taken the time to say that really doesn't work for me, then now we can do something about it. And I always appreciate when someone is sharing how something might not be working for them, so that we can, because we want it to work. We want our students to learn. We want them to be successful. And so I always appreciate, because if you never know, you never get a chance to change it, right? So.
Yeah, and for your class, you could be, they share something negative and you had no idea, and you thank them, or you say, you know what, I sensed something was off there, but I wasn't sure and I needed your feedback to confirm. So either way, they're feeling like, oh, I'm doing you a favor by telling you what needs to change, and then you can dig further. So, you know, even if something you can't change, you could say, well, why is it that this is creating a problem? What supports or resources could we add, or could we break it down somehow so that it's not overwhelming? Should we build in more reminders? So, you know, even it's like you can't change it all. Like you can't, no, I can't, you have to have your midterm, I'm sorry, but what kind of preparation, you know, can I provide, or something that is going to make it more of a learning opportunity and not just something stressful, for example. So.
Yeah, and ending on a positive note with them, like, so the classroom was it was a safe place. It was a safe way to get feedback, and you're listening, because, you know, teaching is about relationships. It's not always about you know, amazing, innovative teaching skills. It's about relationships, and your students knowing that you care about their learning really says a lot. So.
Yeah. So what are your next steps? Let's see what you need to do. Okay, looks like both of you would like a CTL midpoint survey to request this. So I could send this to you on, well, we'll send the slides, but we can also put this in an email. Did you have a question real quick?
Yes, I have a question, but I don't know if it's the best moment to ask that. I'll just ask that if you're going to cover that in the future, you can just answer that in the future. So my question is, I have about a 200 student class, and it's an 8 a.m. class, so maybe only half of the class show up, 100. And I'm wondering if I have the same set of questions for the students in the class, and also maybe on Canvas for the ones who are not attending the class. Maybe I cannot differentiate those, because those who are not attending, they're probably assessing my instructional skills only based on the lecture notes that I upload. And the other ones would do based on my interactions with them. So would you recommend having two separate surveys, or?
I don't know that I would have two separate surveys, but so is it the same students who are always coming to class, and there's a group that doesn't come? Is that what you suspect, or?
Yes, that's what I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you might want to add a question that is, you know, do you mostly come to class, or are you mostly accessing the content online?
Right,
Yeah,
so you could,
great idea.
That might help.
yeah, you could put a range. You can put a range, and, you know, depending on agree or disagree, or how much, you know, how many lectures have you attended, or how frequently do you attend in a week?
Right.
You know, and then, you know, I always attend, you know, I attend mostly, you know, to get a sense, and then you can correlate the responses with that. So that's good for you to know, for sure.
Do you record your lectures, or you just share lecture notes?
No, I don't record them. I just have my notes as a PDF and then upload them on to Canvas.
Okay, and have you designed your course so that it's really meant to be face-to-face, and then or have you sort of designed it so that it can be this multi-access hybrid type version?
I would say even if someone does not attend the class, if they go over the lectures and all the materials that I upload, they still should be able to learn a lot.
Yeah,
But there's definitely some difference between, you know, the questions, the discussions that are in the class. Some of them they don't go into the notes.
yeah.
So yeah, there is some difference.
It would be so cool down the road sometime if you were, because I would think a lot of people would say that the students who come to class are gonna have higher marks. It would be interesting to be able to figure that out, but yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, you could ask, I mean, I know they have a lot of classes that they're attending, but you know, what would actually encourage you to show up and be in class in person, right? Like that could be something in your open-ended question, if that is what is on your mind, how do I get them to show up?
They're probably gonna say
Yeah.
class starts at 10.
Yeah, I know, it's the class
8 a.m.
time,
is
right?
early.
8 a.m. is early.
Yeah.
So this is the process by requesting a survey. So again, on that same web link, and I don't know, I don't have it copied to put it in, but I'll put it in the chat in a minute. So you need to activate your Qualtrics account first. And once you do that, you can, when you request the survey by filling out the form on our website, then you'll get an email saying, here is your survey. You know, your survey has been created for you. Log into Qualtrics and you'll see it. And then you can edit it and then distribute it using that anonymous link in Qualtrics. You can put it in Canvas in the announcements section, and you could, you know, create a bit.ly and then put it up also on the screen for students, whatever, all the different ways. And then you can manually close it or have a specific date that it closes automatically. So that is, I'm gonna put the link in the chat. And then just to help, we have this slide here that we're gonna share with you on a PowerPoint slide that you could put up for students. You can edit this and then say, it's midpoint time. They're like, what's that? And then here it is. Here's the what and the when and the where and the why and the how. You have all the slide and you go over it with them so that they understand why you're doing this, how it's going to happen, and that you're going to come back and then you're going to discuss the results. So we have this slide that we will also share with you that you can then edit. So I'll let you pause with your questions. I'm going to, I need to escape out for a second so I could find my find the link for you to easily access the CTL Midpoint page if you haven't already. If you're on that site, you have a request an online Midpoint feedback survey. It has the PDF that we shared earlier that you could see what the survey looks like. Complete the survey request form. It has the link for the Qualtrics, if you haven't used Qualtrics before, to log in and activate your account. So what, let me go back to my screen. What I'm sharing. To see what questions you have. And that is our CTL help desk email as well. And we can, you know, send you some slides as well to help you remember how do I set this up with my students, and what should I be doing after I collect, so that you don't be like, oh no, I didn't take notes during the workshop. We will send this to you. So that's our help desk email. Now, do you have questions?
I've got a quick question. I cannot find which link I should click on to get the template on Qualtrics.
Right, so you need to request it. So when you're on, if you're on, are you on the Midpoint feedback website right now?
Yes, the page,
Okay.
the link that you sent earlier.
Right, and then there's like a blue line that says request an online Midpoint feedback survey. So
Right.
you need to do number 3, complete the survey request form. Once you submit that, our team will create a copy of the template and add it to your account.
That
And
makes
send
sense.
you, and then, yeah, so I could go back to the process here. Okay. So you're gonna request a survey, fill in the form, I should say, yeah, maybe I should add there, you will get an email confirming that it's been created, log into your Qualtrics, and then you'll see it there, and then you can edit there. And because it is a whole, you'll be made the owner, it's a complete copy, we don't have access to those results or whatever your students fill in.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And if you need help with the Qualtrics, it's fairly easy to use, but if you need help, our support analysts at the help desk can help you with that.
Right, you could preview it, you could see how it looks on a phone, if they're gonna do it on their phone. Yeah, do it yourself, you could do a preview and take it yourself to see how long it takes you. And then, yeah, you could, yeah. So, yeah, any other questions, Fawad, how are you feeling?
Yes, thank you. I already request for the survey,
Yay.
and I can see my Qualtrics now, Qualtrics account. So how much time the team takes to give me the copy
Yeah.
of that? Because I'm really excited to have
Oh,
this.
good. Well, good, excited. Yeah, I would say, depending how busy you are, I mean, I'm hoping by tomorrow,
Right.
that they'll get an email, and see that there. So I'm glad you're excited. You feel free to reach out. Once you get the result, you have it, and also plan to do this next week. That's like the best time. So that's why especially we want to get this to you as soon as possible, so you can plan. So either later this afternoon, or first thing in the morning, we'll send you the slides, so.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Have a good rest of your afternoon, and happy Midpoint feedbacking.
Yeah. Good luck
Thank
with
you.
it.
Thank you so much. It was
Thank you
nice
so
meeting
much.
you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you too. Good luck.
Good rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.